Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udiraye. So we are reading from the 10th canto, chapter 78, almost to the end, and we'll do texts 1 through 5. So I'll chant through the Sanskrit and English translations up to the 5th verse, and then we'll do everything together. Shri Shukuvacha Shishupalasya Shalvasya Pondrakasya Pidurmati Padaloka Gatanam Cha Kurvan Paroksha Sohridam Eka Padati Sankrudho Gadapani Prakampayan Padbhyam Imam Maharaja Mahasattva Vyadrishyata. Shukadev Goswami said, acting out of friendship for Shishupal, Shalva and Pondraka, who had all passed on the next world, onto the next world, the wicked Dantavakra appeared on the battlefield in a great rage, O king. All alone, on foot, and wielding a club in his hand, the mighty warrior shook the earth with his footsteps. Tam tatayantamalokya gadam adaya satvaraha avaplutya ritat Krishna sindham leva pratyadhat. Seeing Dantavakra approach, Lord Krishna quickly picked up his club, jumped down from his chariot, and stopped his advancing opponent just as the shore holds back the ocean. Purport: Srila Prabhupada writes, when Krishna appeared before Dantavakra, his heroic march was immediately stopped, just as the great furious waves of the ocean are stopped by the beach. Vedam udyamya karusho mukundam prahadormadaha dishtya bhavan adya mama drishti patam gataha. Raising his club, the reckless king of Karusha said to Lord Mukunda, what luck to have you come before me today. Purport: Srila Sridhar Swami explains that after having waited for 3 lifetimes, Dantavakra, formerly a gatekeeper in Vaikuntha, could now return to the spiritual world. Therefore, the transcendental meaning of his statement is, how fortunate I am that today I can return to my constitutional position in the spiritual world. How about that? Fitting meanings. In the next verse, Dantavakra will refer to Krishna as Matuleya, a maternal cousin. Dantavakra's mother, Shruta Shrava, was the sister of Krishna's father, Vasudeva. Text 5. I'll chant, I guess we'll go line for line to make it original. I'll chant each line and everybody can repeat, and then we can have some chanters. Tvam matuleyo na Krishna
Tvam matuleyo na Krishna
Trajunmam jaghamsasi
Mitradhanmam jigamsasi
Tatastvam gaddaya manda
Atastvam manda
Anishe vajrakalpaya
Anishe vajrakalpaya
Tvam matuleyo na Krishna Mitra Janmam Jagamsasi Tatastvam Gaddaya Manda Manishe Vajrakalpaya. Some chanters.
Tvam matuleya na Krishna
Tvam matuleyo na Krishna
Mitra Junmam Jighasyatsi
Mitra Janmam Jagamsasi
Atastvam Gadaya Manda
Tatastvam Gaddaya Manda
Anisye Vajra Kalpaya.
Anishe Vajrakalpaya. One more.
Tammatuleo na Krishna,
Tammatuleyona Krishna.
Mitranumam jigasansi,
Mitrajanmam Jaghamsasi.
Atastavam gadayamanda,
Tatastvam Gadaya Manda.
Anishyase vajrakalpaya.
Anishe Vajrakalpaya. Tvam. You. Matuleyaha. Maternal cousin. Na. Our. Krishna. O Krishna. Mitra. To my friends. Juk. Who have committed violence. Mam. May. Tigam Sasi. You wish to kill. Attaha. Therefore. Tvam. You. Godaya. With my club. Manda. O fool. Anishye. I will kill. Vajrakalpaya. Like a thunderbolt. Translation. You are our maternal cousin, Krishna, but you committed violence against my friends, and now you want to kill me also. Therefore, fool, I will kill you with my thunderbolt club. Purport. The Acharyas have given the following alternate grammatical division of the third line of this verse, Atastvam Gadaya Amanda, in which case Dantavakra says, My dear Lord Krishna, you are Amanda, not foolish, and therefore, with your powerful club, you will now send me back home, back to Godhead. This is the inner meaning of this verse. Om Adhyanachimanandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadammayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapara Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pachayane Nirvishesha Shunnavadi Paschata Desha Tarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, Hare Krishna. Again, very grateful for this opportunity. Very cool little section of verses here. One thing that really immediately stuck out to me was this alternate understanding of this particular verse, where Dantavakra says, My dear Lord Krishna, you are not Amanda, you are Amanda, not foolish, and therefore, with your powerful club, you will now send me back home, back to Godhead. This is the inner meaning of this verse. And I was just thinking poetically, that's like such an interesting way of phrasing it, like by your club, by basically beating me up, you are going to send me back to Godhead. And I was thinking, to what extent in my life and in the lives of the devotees that I've seen, has Krishna, by his club, attempted to send us back to Godhead? It's an interesting concept, and it seems to be a common methodology that Krishna employs in terms of his ways of bringing us back to him. Um, at the end of the day, it's his love for us, right? He wants us to come back for him, but his love manifests in interesting ways. I think it was yesterday Adi Purush Prabhu gave the example of Job, how Krishna, or I guess you could say the devil as Krishna's agent, took everything away from Job, and then also made his body get very sickly. But it was all Krishna's way of glorifying his devotee and ultimately bringing him back to him. So I was also thinking that, like, just as a as a homeless person, say, becomes crazy after so many years of having things ripped away from them, perhaps in the same way, Krishna kind of makes us crazy for him sometimes by taking things away from us and putting us in these intense situations that that we're not meant to handle on our own. We're not meant to be able to handle the intensity of of the tests that Krishna sends to us on our own. It's actually his way of forcing us, in some cases, to take full shelter of him. And I was just thinking that, yeah, I mean, we see those descriptions of crazy, so-called crazy devotees all throughout the Chaitanya Charitamrita and in special portions of the Bhagavatam as well. And some beautiful verses there describing the what's going on under the hood, of those devotees. That it's not just that they're another crazy person, of course, but they have this deep realization, this deep faith and understanding that nothing in the world is of value to them other than love for Krishna, other than loving service to Krishna. This verse that recently struck me from the CC goes, Prema dhana vina vyarta dare jivana dasa kari vetan more deha prema dana, which means that it's Krishna Das Kaviraj speaking, and he's saying that there's nothing of this world that has any value to me. I've come to this understanding that there's no value in anything in this world, not in position, not in nice clothing, not in any kind of power. He's saying that the only thing that is of value to me is prema, is love for you. And so please give me this love for you as a salary, and I won't take anything else. So I was struck by this for the reason that ultimately there's so many things that we consider to be of value in this world, but by Krishna's arrangement, gradually those things are shown to be valueless. Gradually, he shows us that the only thing of true value is love for him and loving service to him. Once we have that love for him, then everything kind of becomes a bit easier. Right? Once we have Premanjana Churita, once we have eyes of love for Krishna, then all of a sudden we see things in a very different light. Then it's easy to recognize Krishna's club acting in our lives, perhaps beating us down a bit, but it's always for the sake of bringing us closer towards him. So the question then becomes, how to imbibe this understanding. And from my perspective, from my experience, there's kind of two ways. The understanding that we're talking about is elucidated in a very famous verse that Lord Brahma speaks to Krishna after being humbled by him. Verse that many people know. It says, Tattenu kampam susamikshamano bunjane vatmakatam vipakam pridvagvapur bir vididan namaste jivettu yomukti pade sadayava. And I have it pulled up here. The purport is very special. Let's see. So here we are. This is by Hriday Nanda Maharaj and Gopi Puranadana Prabhu. The word sushik. Okay, I should probably read the verse first, right? My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds, and offering you respectful obeisances with his heart, words, and body, is surely eligible for liberation, as it has become his rightful claim. And now check this out. The word samikshamana indicates that a devotee earnestly awaits the mercy of the Supreme Lord even while suffering the painful effects of previous sinful activities. This is the club through which Krishna sends us back to Godhead. Lord Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita that a devotee who fully surrenders unto him is no longer liable to suffer the reactions of his previous karma. However, because in his mind a devotee may still maintain the remnants of his previous sinful mentality, the Lord removes the last vestiges of the enjoying spirit by giving his devotee punishments that may sometimes resemble sinful reactions. The purpose of the entire creation of God is to rectify the living entity's tendency to enjoy without the Lord. And therefore, the particular punishment given for a sinful activity is specifically designed to curtail the mentality that produced the activity. So this is where all of a sudden, Ashli Shiva Pararatam Pinashimam, that verse starts to make a bit more sense, right? In that it's not that Krishna is just pounding us, he's actually lovingly embracing us, but he's handling us perhaps a bit roughly in so doing, right? And so this is why, because by that perhaps rough embrace, the Lord is giving us exactly what we need to rectify the last vestiges of the enjoying spirit. So these rectifications, these rough embraces may sometimes resemble sinful reactions, said here. But although a devotee has surrendered to the Lord's devotional service, theoretically, until he is completely perfect in Krishna consciousness, he may maintain a slight inclination to enjoy the false happiness of this world. The Lord therefore creates a particular situation to eradicate this remaining enjoying spirit. This unhappiness suffered by a sincere devotee is not technically a karmic reaction. It is rather the Lord's special mercy for inducing his devotee to completely let go of the material world and return home back to Godhead. So for me, it's comforting to know that Krishna is always there. So that's one way of understanding this kind of club in our lives, that philosophically it's exactly what we need to become free from our anarthas and ultimately develop our love for Krishna. On the other hand, when we're in the moment and things start to go wrong, it's not always easy to reconcile them philosophically, right? When we're dealing with some intense distress, perhaps some intense anger, some intense disappointment, yeah, we can refer to this verse, but still emotionally we may feel unable to reconcile some things, right? Philosophically we could understand it, but still in the heart we may feel disconnected from Krishna and perhaps unable to accept the fact at hand that he's there and he loves us and all of that. So to fully um, take on these Premanjana Churita Bhakti, these eyes of love for Krishna to the point where we can always see his loving hand in every single thing that happens to us. It requires sadhana. We need to be constantly building up our intimacy with Krishna, because through that intimacy we get close to Krishna, and by that closeness to Krishna we're always with Krishna. No matter what happens, we're always seeing that it's Krishna. So we can't just understand something philosophically, we also have to understand it within our hearts. We have to have this closeness to Krishna that assures us of his hand in our lives. I was watching a remembrance of Srila Prabhupada by this Babaji, whose remembrance had been recorded in writing, and Kastuba was reading it on Prabhupada's disappearance day. This is a Babaji who was born in Radhakund and spent his entire life living in and around Radhakund, 73 years of which he was a pujari, a priest in the temple there. And when this Prabhupada disciple was interviewing people, asked him, "Do you remember this Bhaktivedanta Swami? What do you remember about him?" And the Babaji started crying and took a moment. And then he said, "I've never seen anyone do sadhana like that before," referring to Srila Prabhupada. That I've never seen anybody chanting as deeply as I saw this person chanting, and chanting as fixed in terms of his rounds and his schedule of practicing Krishna consciousness as is Bhaktivedanta Swami. And he said, when he came back with his Western disciples, and I heard that he was the one who was chosen to fulfill the order of Lord Chaitanya, that didn't surprise me. I wasn't surprised. And when Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj was asked why he thought that Prabhupada was the chosen one, to go and carry out the order of fulfill the prophecy of Lord Chaitanya, that this Krishna consciousness would be spread all over the world. He attributed it to his faith in the holy name. So how does one get that faith, though? How does one get that faith that Krishna is actually real? Krishna is actually directly present in his name, and Krishna is guiding us through every situation. It comes through from this sadhana. It's by putting ourselves in contact with Krishna in a very deep way. When we get this pratyaksha, or this direct experience of Krishna. And through those direct experiences, we come to realize that Krishna is real, that he loves us, and that he's always guiding us every step of the way, even though he may sometimes hit us with his club or embrace us a bit roughly. So at the end of the day, it always comes back to sadhana. There's no new answer. There's no new innovative way of developing Krishna consciousness. It always comes back to one's japa and one's reading, hearing, and chanting. So to the extent that we're really going for it in our sadhana, to that extent, we will understand Krishna's presence, and we will feel Krishna's presence, and we will make rapid advancement in Krishna consciousness. And to the extent that we have mediocre sadhana, not really doing the work of applying our mind to our chanting, not really doing the work of reading Prabhupada's books in a steady and deep way, to that extent we'll be mediocre devotees, which of course is still a glorious thing, right? It's not a bad thing to be any kind of devotee. But at the end of the day, we have a mission to take up. Lord Chaitanya wanted each of us to become spiritual masters, to become gurus and spread the movement around. And what would happen if we decided that we were going to lean into our 16 rounds every single day and really give our all in chanting? Where would we be in 5 years? Where would we be in 10 years? Where would we be in 20 years? If we really dug into our hearts every morning and chanted deeply. Because one thing is for sure is that in 20 years, most of our spiritual masters, if not all of them, will no longer be on the planet, at least in terms of Diksha Gurus. And so what kind of responsibility do we have as individual devotees at this time in Kali Yuga to take up their instructions seriously, to imbibe their moods, and to become bona fide representatives of them? Right? How will the movement go on if not for a few a few good men, as it said, or a few good women who really take this process to heart and become pure representatives of the parampara. It's something to seriously consider. Um, of course, we alternatively have the option to just kind of float around in Krishna consciousness, and that's also nice. Hearing and chanting and associating with devotees is never a bad thing. But where would the movement be without the likes of Radhanath Swami, of Vaisheshika Prabhu, Bhakti Charu Swami, Sachinandana Swami, and so many others who really decided, I'm going to make this my life, and I'm going to become a representative of Srila Prabhupada. Where would the movement be without those people? What if everybody just decided, I'm just going to kind of skate by and, you know, take part in the culture and, do my vows, but I don't really feel like going deep, because we don't become like them by simply skating by, right? Even after millions of lifetimes, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, we could still remain just kind of on the surface level of Krishna consciousness if we're not vigilantly seeking out those material desires in our heart and begging Krishna to eradicate them while we're chanting Hare Krishna. So that's been a meditation of mine lately. And I thought it related to this verse because, yes, we're meant to see Krishna as beating us with the club, as is ultimately bringing us back to Godhead, as Dantavakra is doing here. But in order to actually see that requires some intense sadhana. And it's not that we have to become great devotees necessarily, but just by trying to become a good devotee. We don't have to chant 64 rounds and distribute millions of books. We just have to chant the rounds that we've been allotted with sincerity, with intention. And of course, that sincerity may feel like it waxes and wanes, but there's always a molecule there in the heart. And if we find that molecule of sincerity in our heart, and we try to live there, at least for the 2 hours that we're chanting every day, or for the time that we've allotted to read Srila Prabhupada's books every day, then we'll see great results. We'll see massive results. And mind you, I'm also preaching to myself here. I'm still very much a neophyte who's attempting to carry the torch, but it's our duty. We've been deputized by Lord Chaitanya to become empowered spiritual masters, and so we shouldn't take that instruction lightly. I I some time ago saw this movie called Fury about World War II, and therein, at the end of the movie, these soldiers have been basically faced with an impossible task in which they know they're going to die. There's some 3,000 German soldiers approaching, and it's only 8 of them. But they know that if they could take out a few of them, then it'll benefit the cause. And the main character then, in kind of reconciling what's about to happen and knowing that he's about to sacrifice his life for the good of the whole, quotes a passage from the Bible, from Isaiah, and he says, let's see if I could pull it up real quick, just as a close, as we finish off here. Here it is, Isaiah 6:8. Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send? And who will go for us? And I said, here I am, send me. We could meditate on that. We hear the voice of Lord Chaitanya saying, whom shall I send? Who will go for us? Who will carry the torch? Who will give the holy name to all the billions and billions of suffering souls in the material universe, who will do the work of passing out the fruits of love of Godhead, saying, and here Isaiah, or the devotee replies, here I am, send me. So we could take that to heart and really lean into our sadhana and really take up the instructions of our spiritual master, no matter how difficult they may be. And in this way, become empowered representatives of Lord Chaitanya and ensure that ISKCON thrives in these next 20, 30, 40, 50 years that we're on earth. Om Tat Sat. If there are any questions or comments, we'd love to hear from you. Hare Krishna. Yes.
Hare Krishna, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Um, do I understand this correctly that he was looking forward to the chastisement? Usually we try to avoid getting chastised, but it seems like he's saying, okay, Lord, give me the smash. Did I understand that correctly in this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
That's
it.
it.
My dear Lord Krishna, you are not foolish, and therefore with your powerful club, you will now send me back home, back to Godhead.
Mm.
He was looking forward to going back to Godhead.
Amazing how the demons understand Krishna and Krishna consciousness in these stories. You spoke a lot about how the supreme degree of surrender involves being willing to die if necessary. You know, we want to surrender everything. Wow. Okay, Lord, let me do thy will, come what may. Very interesting. We're hearing about these personalities with this kind of an attitude, and we can follow in their footsteps. They can inspire us to have that degree of dedication. And without that, we have one foot on the boat and one foot on the dock. We're not going anywhere, really. A lot of stories Prabhupada tells like that the bridegroom had his big boat and everybody was rowing all night to go down the river to the wedding ceremony. And then after the fog lifted in the morning, they saw they hadn't moved anywhere because they didn't pick up the anchor. So I'm sure that each of us has our anchor. And there's that one story in the Bible about Abraham. He was expecting this son, it was predicted, and he had this only son, and he was his dear only son that was going to be the source of, generations and more, and eventually the Messiah coming. And then one day Krishna said to him, Abraham, take your son up on the mountain and make an altar, tie him up and sacrifice him to me. Which was like his only son, and Abraham was like, it didn't make sense. It was something that would just tear his heart out. And it was different than the previous instruction that the Lord gave him. But somehow or other, he had enough faith to say, okay, Lord, I bring the son up on the mountain, and each of us has our only son. We'll surrender everything but this. I'll go anywhere but New York. I'll work with anybody but this devotee. I'll do any service except that service. And until we surrender that only son, we're still stuck with the anchor still stuck down, and we're not going anywhere. Total surrender. Then we have nothing to protect, nothing to lose, nothing to gain. Krishna, use me as you like. Let me dance as you like. I'm here on your behalf. Well, glory to Srila Prabhupada.
Nice. Thank you, Adi Prabhu. And that's the sweet spot right there too, full surrender. We don't realize that what we're holding back is holding us back from experiencing Krishna's love fully and fully loving Krishna in return. It's like it's like jumping in the Ganges. At first, the mind may present so many reasons why, oh, it's too cold. Again, the water is going to be cold, but then once you get in there, you're like, wow, this is so refreshing, so nice. I'm so glad I did this. So we have to jump into full surrender, like Adi Purush Prabhu. Hey, Mungis.
And we're free.
Hey, Mungis says really quick before Krishna Kumari, how to develop a habit of reading Prabhupada's books every day. There's a fantastic app called Be a Sage Page by Page, where you can set, okay, I want to finish the Bhagavatam in 1 year, then you read 40 verses or 41 pages a day. If you want to finish it in 2 years, you split. So it tells you, it has for all of Prabhupada's main books, how many pages to read a day, depending on how long you want to take to finish it. So just start with 1 page a day, or even 2, or however many required to just get started, and then stay consistent with that. And then it'll act like a wedge. You start with a little tip of the wedge there, but then gradually by applying pressure to that wedge, that 1 page a day, then it opens up more and more. You could do 5 pages, 10 pages, 20 pages, and so on and so on. But yeah, you kind of feel out what your capacity is and just don't read less than that, whether it's 1 page or 20 pages. That's been my experience. Krishna Kumari, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much for your wonderful class. I was like, wow, what is he going to speak on about this? But that verse, the purport you added on there, speaking as a mom, I can say that I never let my children when they were younger watch television, but sometimes I would work on the weekends and my husband would play the Little Rascals for them, thinking like, oh, this is not so, whatever. Anyway, my oldest son, when he was very little, would beg us, and it was something from the Little Rascals, but he would say, can you tan my hide? Can you tan my hide? And I was thinking how, children do want limits. So sometimes when a child's very happy doing something, a parent might think like, oh, they're happy. I don't want to interrupt what they're doing, but they do need to move on to the next activity. And sometimes parents will just not have them do that because they're happy right then. But that's a good time to have a child transition into the next activity. And I was thinking like that for us, like we don't have to wait till we're unhappy to be forced to, take the next steps in our devotional practice. We have these guidelines that Prabhupada gave us like a father. We have this example of Krishna, coming and being, the strict with the club, but we also have Prabhupada's example, while we're happy doing this, now add this in, now get more serious, like you're talking about our japa. And I was thinking about one of your last comments also that whenever you're saying when you're speaking this to us, you're really saying it to yourself. I mean, all of us are doing that all the time. I mean, sometimes we offend people when we tell them how to do something. It's like we're always just, saying what we need to hear, because who doesn't need to tighten up on their sadhana. So anyway, I appreciate your class. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
One less cigarette a day, Shyamasundara Prabhu. One less cigarette. Did Srila Prabhupada push anybody? By his example, yes. But did he make adjustments in terms of who he was speaking to and according to time, place, and circumstances? Yes. And Shyamasundara Prabhu is very appreciative of that. Srila Prabhupada let him do service while he was still using drugs, heavy drugs. And still, Shyamasundar Prabhu remembers how he felt included, not discouraged. Yeah, it's still 5 cents.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
and what's that analogy in the Bhagavatam where you're trying to heat up food with a candle that is several feet away from the bowl? That's the weak sadhana, trying to heat up khichdi, keeping the flame away from it. So we move the flame closer to the bowl each day, a little closer to the bowl. Yeah, can Krishnadaya Prabhu, can you tell me the reference maybe? If you're here. He's taking care of Adokshija Prabhu probably. Okay. Dr. Hugo, has his hand up?
Hare Krishna. Thank you for class, Anupam Prabhu. I was personally inspired and nourished by it. And yeah, so I'm very grateful for the class. I'm appreciating Krishna Kumari Devi's point just a moment ago that, yeah, the way I articulate is there's no requirement to reach the point of suffering in our current situation to learn to move on and expand our service to Krishna. I'm reminded of what Srila Prabhupada would write in his books, the 3 classes of intelligence. Third class intelligence is you face the consequences of your actions and then you proceed to do the same thing again and again. The person goes into prison and then they get out and they get back in, they get out, they get back in, they never learn. Second class intelligence, a person gets punishment and they learn, oh, I shouldn't do that. They get into prison, they reform, and they're able to go out as contributing members of society. And then first class intelligence, a person is simply able to hear proper instruction and then perform appropriately. And so in this case as well, I'm reflecting like, oh, we have all of these stories in the Bhagavatam. So many devotees, so many characters in our bhakti scriptures who go through so much suffering or punishment or intense karma or just intense situations that eventually bring them to devotion. The purpose of those stories is to hopefully teach us to not make the same mistakes. That if we need to be pushed very hard, then Krishna will push us very hard. He's open to do that because it will serve us. But we always have the opportunity in every circumstance, just like Krishna Kumari has said, like to move on, to expand, to deepen, right where we are. We don't need to wait until we're forced into transformation, but we can always take the initiative and be proactive. And I have an intuition that Krishna probably very much appreciates that initiative. Hare Krishna.
Yep. Nice. Preemptively give ourselves. My spiritual master tells the time he was bathing in Radhakund, and when he got out, all of his stuff, including like his money and his phone and everything, was gone from the bank. Someone had taken it. And in India, when it's gone, it's gone. Anybody has been there before. There's no chance of you filing a claim and getting it back. And so immediately, then when he got back to the Bhaktivedanta ashram, then he gave a donation. Normally, he gives it at the end of his stay, but he decided after that experience to give it now, preemptively give before it's taken away prematurely. And so, yeah, we can do that every day. You could say, yeah, even though I feel okay, things are going well, let me practice as if things are not going well. Let me really lean into this as if I got a real problem, which we do. We do have a problem. I mean, speaking for myself, lots of anarthas, lots of undesirable traits and characteristics. So even if things apparently are doing well, they're really not, unless you're a pure devotee. You got some issues you need to work out. And so why not really focus on that? Why not in our chanting feel that we're just this little fly in the ocean of samsara getting tossed around in the waves and beg Krishna to come and get us, to give us just an ounce of loving service attitude towards him so that we can actually become real human beings and proper devotees. So yeah, let's try to live there for a while and see what happens after 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. See what kind of impact Krishna will allow us to have on the world because that's what he wants. He wants us to have a big impact on the world. So let's try to become qualified in our humble way to be an instrument in that way. It is the Live to Give campaign. Bhagavad Gita December Marathon is upon us. If anybody would like to donate towards that, we're giving out lots of Bhagavad Gitas. Specifically on January 20th, we're going to be going to the Capitol and doing mass book distribution for the inauguration of President Trump. And so that could be a huge effort, and we'll send you pictures and yeah, it should be pretty inspiring. But if anybody would like to donate, please reach out and promise that your money won't go in vain, and it'll go towards the distribution of hundreds and hundreds and hopefully thousands of Bhagavad Gitas to the fallen conditioned souls.
Jai. Thank you, Anupam Prabhu. Thank you very much. Wonderful class. Thank you. Okay, darshan time, dear devotees. Darshan time.
Bhagavan ki. Radha Murida Gaura Chandra Bhagavan Ki Srila Prabhupada Ki.
Jai. Thank you very much, Anupam Prabhu, for the class. Wonderful discussion. Certain things we can't communicate verbally, certain instructions. Some other things we can communicate by our example. Yeah, we don't have to say things sometimes. Sometimes we can say things without saying. We can live the Bhagavatam and communicate the message like by living it. Hare Krishna. Would anyone like to speak? Maybe we can take a question or two. I always feel comfortable opening the floor because I know there will be volunteers. The audience is trained to participate actively. This is a Naimisharanya forest training.
I wanted to clarify that my kids never got their tans hide tanned or whatever.
Okay. Thank you, Krishna Kumari. Thank you.
But there was that desire, like I want some boundaries, right? I want to know what it's like to be like, this is bad. And they want to know what it's like to be bad. If it does, they say how a child acts as a toddler will be revisited as a teenager.
Yeah.
So if you have a toddler that's unruly, you have a harder time with your teenager. Yeah. My kids were all super easy.
Yeah. Thank you, Krishna Kumari. Thank you. Yeah, it takes intelligence, expertise, humility to instruct somebody. Jeffrey Eckler, we saw your hand.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you, Anupam, for this class. Anupam had mentioned at the end of his commentary there that Krishna allows us, and I find in in recent history that I've done a lot of work surrounding this allowing and this desire to control and be the doer, so to speak, and kind of allowing is one of those things that is not necessarily come easy to everyone. Allowing something to happen without interjecting, or allowing someone to speak without having a comment, allowing a situation to pass without being emotionally distraught about it, things of that nature. And I guess my question is there a good verse or a good reference for us to look to reflect on that that disposition of allowing, either from the devotee's perspective or from Krishna's perspective, so that we may understand better how to attain that equal vision that comes with that skill or enlightenment or whatever it is. Hare Krishna.
Anupam Prabhu, would you like to speak on that? I have something that came to my mind, to my toddler mind. One verse from the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna tells Arjuna, all those kings are already dead. So everything is already allowed. They're all dead already. So therefore, Arjuna, fight. So it's allowed. At the same time, we're expected to act So it's not two mutually excluding things. They're already dead, Arjuna, therefore go fight. And then there's another one, also from the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says, happiness and pain will come like summer and winter season, and one should tolerate them without being disturbed. So certain things will be allowed, certain pain will be allowed by Krishna, but we are supposed to keep going in our bhakti. The Krishna club will touch our head sometimes. So we should acknowledge that, own it, and keep our service going. Hare Krishna. Would anyone else like to maybe add something?
I just say, like, when I hear Jeffrey speak, I think, wow, I just want to hang out with him.
Yeah. Look at his glowing head. It's touched by Krishna's club many times.
I don't care what he
tell.
looks like. I just like his inner work is just,
Yeah.
his reflections. Yeah. Sometimes you just want to like be present with someone. And yeah, I just really appreciate you, Jeffrey. I don't have any answers to what you share.
Thank you.
Every time Jeffrey Eckler speaks, I'm like, oh goodness, will I be able to at least understand the question? It's always, Jeffrey Eckler's mental capacity is impressive, and he's using it in Krishna's service. Thank you, Jeffrey Prabhu. We love you. Would anyone like to glorify Jeffrey Eckler? Please unmute yourself. Time to glorify Jeffrey Eckler, everybody.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for class. I always find what Jeffrey Eckler says to be inspiring and relatable. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Isaiah? Sundaranandaji, please.
Hey, Hare Krishna. I just wanted to say of course, Sham and Balram, my sons aren't here, they're at school. But whenever they see Jeffrey Prabhu, they're like, okay, this is someone on our side. Whatever reason, I don't know, maybe they think like he's very comforting, the way he looks, he's more down to earth and on their level. So they really like Jeffrey Eckler. They said, oh, okay, Jeffrey Eckler is today. Or if he's not there, conversely, they say, oh, there's no Jeffrey today. I'm not listening to this.
Yeah.
So that goes to show. Thank you, Prabhu, for all your enthusiasm. And it puts Hare Krishna.
Jeffrey Prabhu, when you come to the city next time, please tell us so we can hang out with you.
I will, Prabhu. Thank you very much, everyone. I appreciate your comments.
Thank you. Okay, we need Isaiah. Isaiah, we need you, please. Come closer to the mic. And do he was a little muted. I don't know. Maybe it's because he's yelling. I don't know. Isaiah, come real close.
No, bye-bye.
It was better, much better. Thank you. Thank you very much, Isaiah Prabhu.
Isaiah's going to be 6 on Friday.
Whoa, Isaiah, what a milestone. Cool. Happy upcoming appearance day, Isaiah Prabhu. Thank you for being our chanter.
We should all chant for Isaiah.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna to you. Hare Krishna to you. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna to you, Isaiah. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Hare Krishna to you, dear devotees. Have a wonderful day. Give it to Krishna. One less cigarette a day. You're okay. This is full surrender for today. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.